So everyone, thank you very much for coming to this candidate forum for this year's mayoral race. My name is Brian Brown. I am the Government Affairs Chair for the Northeast Johnson County Chamber, and I'll be the moderator for today's event. Being our timekeeper here is Ms. Deb Settles. She's the President and CEO of the Northeast Johnson County Chamber of Commerce, and so we're happy to be able to facilitate this event for you and also for the candidates in the city as well. In general, questions that we have are prepared in advance and we're not shared with the individuals. So they're coming into this blind. We're not trying to stump or throw anybody under the bus. We're just trying to disseminate information so people can be informed when they go to vote and understand, okay, on these certain positions or these certain areas, this is what the candidates' positions are. So hopefully these are very important questions that will be answered for individuals. The event is being videotaped. It will be shared on a website called votejoco.com. As the chamber is a body that represents business, most of the questions will be to the source where it talks about what's interesting to the environment for individuals that will be participating, shopping in area stores, and then how that's also going to affect from, with regard from the taxing and infrastructure management standpoint. So we'll have those questions. Outside of that, each candidate, as I've shared with you, will be provided a 2-minute opening. We'll ask questions that will go on an alternating form. They'll have a minute and a half to respond, and we will give them the ability to wrap up with a 2-minute close. This time I'd like to introduce our candidates running for office. At this time, we have mayoral candidate Braden Perry, and then we also have mayoral candidate Mr. Andy Weed. So at this time, starting closest to me, we're going to start with Mr. Perry. We'll hear the opening statement from Mr. Perry as to why he feels he's the best candidate in this race.
Sure, and thank you. Appreciate the opportunity, and thank you, Northeast Johnson County Chamber. My name is Braden Perry, and I'm running for mayor of Mission Hills, Kansas. I've grown up here. I've raised kids here. I've not grown up here. I moved here about 20 years ago and lived on Old Sagamore. Both my boys were born in that house, and then we moved recently over to 6437 Norwood, where I reside with my wife and kids. Frankly, I care deeply about this community. I always have, and it's been such a wonderful community for me since I've moved here. I've served Mission Hills for 8 years on City Council, 8 years on the Board of Zoning Appeals, and 8 years on the Crime Prevention and Safety Committee. I'm also a small business owner. I'm a lawyer as a day job, and I do complex white-collar criminal defense as well as a number of different areas when it comes to compliance and regulatory work. I think one thing to remember in this race is that City Mission Hills runs a weak mayor system, which means that it's a council administrator type of government. It's a third-class city in Kansas. And so what that means is the mayor does a couple of things. One, presides over the city council meetings and sets the agenda. 2, appoints boards and has people involved in the city from a number of different committees or types of information gathering or other types of organizations. And 3, it's about leading from a overall standpoint from leadership, whether it be professionalism, judgment, and ensuring that our city is influential from a overall base of government. And so you look at issues surrounding us from regional, state, and local. You need a strong leader to make sure that Mission Hills is in a position going forward. So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perry. I appreciate your comments. This time we'll hear the opening comments from Mr. Andy Weed.
Good afternoon, welcome, thanks for coming. I'm Andy Weed and I'm running for mayor of Mission Hills. I moved here 30 years ago with my wife, Mary, and we have loved living in Mission Hills. We love it here, it's our home, we have our best friends, we have our recreation, we just love living here. And we've had the pleasure of raising our 2 wonderful daughters who went to Belinder and to Indian Hills and to Shawnee Mission East. So we are very committed and true lovers of the Mission Hills experience. I spent time in a career with Tension Envelope. My wife was an art teacher at Pembroke Hill, and after my 45-year career with Tension Envelope, I've really enjoyed staying involved with Mission Hills, which I have done all along. My first phone call came from David Fromm back in the late 1990s, who asked me, hey, would you like to get involved in city government? And I said, sure. And he put me on the Crime and Safety Committee, and then a few years later, I got a call from the Tomahawk Roads Homes Association and said, hey, would you like to get involved in the Homes Association? And I said, sure. I've never done that. And then I got a call from Rick Basar, who said, hey, would you like, he was mayor at the time, and said, hey, would you like to get involved in the Planning Commission? And I said, yeah, I've never done that either. I'd like to learn that. I spent 12 years on the Planning Commission, ended up as the head of it. And finally, David Dickey called me and said, hey, my seat is vacant from having won the mayoral election. Would you like to take my position? I said, I'd be honored to take the position. So I love Mission Hills. I've been involved in all layers for over 25 years of politics, governance, local homes association. I have the experience and the trust and the relationships throughout the city, and I think I can be very effective.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weed. It's very evident that you both care very deeply about the city. You've been here as long-standing residents, and so at the end of this, when November 4th comes, they'll have somebody that truly will care about the city. But as we try to differentiate between you both, I'm going to go ahead and start off with an easy question for you, so I'm not going to stress you guys out too much. Mr. Reed, we're going to start this question with you, sir. What do you feel are the skills, attributes, and knowledge, obviously being a long-standing community servant for the city? What is it you feel that you bring most to the city of Mission Hills to be elected as mayor?
Well, the first thing is I have experience across all aspects. I've been on literally almost every committee or foundation or business part of the city for the 25 years that I've been involved. Second of all, I have relationships based upon working side by side with people on these different kinds of things. And I feel like I have a sense of collaboration and a sense of community spirit and so forth. And then I think the third thing is that I just have passion. And then finally, I think I'm retired. I finished my 45-year career, and I have the time and the energy and the interest to be able to give this undivided attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reed. I'm kind of envious about that retirement. Mr. Perry, the question to you is, you currently sit on the governing body.
Sure.
What skills, attributes do you bring that would allow you to be the best candidate for this race, sir?
I'm also a little jealous of the fact that Mr. Weed's retired. I too have served on just about every committee in Mission Hills. I think we both are extremely experienced when it comes to city leadership, understanding the roles of the city, understanding the roles of the committees, and other parts of how the city works. When it comes down to it, though, I think we need someone that has a measure of process, a measure of, frankly, transparency when it comes to some of the issues that are going to be coming up with the city. And two of the biggest issues that we've had in several years are going to be the purchase of the church by the city, as well as the changes to the comprehensive plan. What I want to do is ensure that the community knows about those two issues, knows the process, knows how things were made, how decisions were made, and ensure that that is done at a level from a transparent and a process standpoint. And so in my life of lawyering, I spend a lot of time working with clients that have issues, that have complex situations come up, and I deal with it every single day, day to day, attempting to make sure, mitigate, decide how best to move forward in complex situations. And I think that's what we need, is someone that's essentially the CEO of the city.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perry. And actually, you just segued into my next question very well. The question comes to you. With being the leader of the governing body, having worked side by side with city leadership as well too, how is it that you lead, and what makes your leadership style and how you would execute that role effective? Sure,
and one of the things that there was a award that I received from the Missouri Lawyers Media Awards, and it was a law firm leader. I manage a law firm of 15 attorneys, 20 total staff, and one of the things that it said is leaders lead, they don't rule. And that's what I want to bring to Mission Hills, to ensure that there's a leadership at the top. Again, from the mayor standpoint, we make no decisions. It's a city council, it's a city administrator that makes decisions in all of the things that go on in the city. What the role of the mayor does is to ensure those decisions are made where the community, where everyone knows exactly the information that's put out there, the information so people will have an idea as to why, when, and how the city council are making those decisions. And I think from a leadership and from just an overall transparent standpoint, putting together those processes in place to ensure that the citizens know exactly what's going on with the city and how decisions are made is something the mayor needs to do and needs to do well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perry. Mr. Weed, same question to you, sir.
I am currently in charge of the process to evaluate the church across the street, and what we're gonna do with it. So I think that I was selected to do that because I have relationships with a number of people in the community, and I have also been involved in building coalitions to do different types of work. On our current committee, I was able to get people with all kinds of different skills, people with real estate issues, construction issues, repurposing issues, environmental issues. So I was able to bring together a wide spectrum of people to work together to try to find what are we going to do with this building across the street. So I think I've worked very closely with people over the years. I think I've demonstrated leadership by almost everything that I lined out in the start of my presentation today. Is every committee I've gotten involved in, I've eventually risen to be the president or the chairman of that organization. So I think I have a lot of the skills and have demonstrated it over the years to be an effective leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. So I'm writing that down. Chair lots of committees, get to retire early. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, so once again, I appreciate you both sharing, kind of your skills, knowledge, ability, spheres of influence as to how that's going to allow you to be an effective leader. So thank you for that. One of the things of an effective leader is to also build collaboration as well too. You both have kind of touched base on that. So with a lot of area communities struggling to communicate consistent and accurate data, what is your strategy to ensure a high level of community engagement with stakeholders while leading your elected colleagues? So Mr. Reed, I start with you, sir.
So I think that one of the most important things is just to have open and honest communication about what's going on. And I think the council and the city have great processes to communicate through newsletters, through special notices through joco.org, Notify Joco. I think there's a number of ways we give very detailed minutes and meetings and notice about what we do. We try to engage citizens at all levels. This project we're working on across the street, we're going to provide a framework for people to consider, and then we oftentimes will bring in consultants, third parties, to make sure that it remains open, honest, and objective. And we try to include everybody that wants to be involved, and we try to notify people in advance and ask for their input and listen to their input.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Reed. Mr. Perry, same question to you, sir.
And Mr. Weed brings up the purchase of the church, and I think that's really a good example as to how maybe a process broke down in the system. Because when I go and I talk to citizens, I ask them, I said, what do you want to do with the land over at the church? They're like, what land and what church and what do you mean? A lot of people don't realize that the church bought that land, and essentially it has an issue regarding the revenue. And so we are leasing that church back for 18 months and essentially not getting any income from that. We financed the church $3.2 million in sales. The purchase agreement's actually publicly available to look at this, and we're losing the cell phone revenue for that 18 months that we're leasing it back. What it comes down to is being able to ensure that the citizens know about this. When I said, do you know that the cell phone towers and all the equipment have long-term leases till 2044? They don't know that. And I don't think that was very clear when it came to the decision-making by the council to enter into this type of a lease scenario. So those types of issues where I think, looking back, and one of the reasons why, again, I am running is because I was asked to run by several groups of people based on some of the things that they saw that potentially could be done a little bit better, which is transparency, which is putting processes together and ensuring that leadership is done at a higher level.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Reed, same question.
Yeah, in the case of the church across the street, it's a very complex negotiation that was held over several months, actually. The cell phone towers are with two different companies. One of them, the lease goes through 2028, and the other one goes through 2044. We have made, as part of the sale agreement, that revenue, and it was part of a comprehensive financial package. And so we did put together a package, we did account for that revenue, and we will ultimately acquire that revenue when we take over the property in 18 months. So it's very complex, and I think you had to be involved in these negotiations at the time and understand what they were all about. And I don't know that negotiations for a property like this are necessarily something that you can handle with 1,300 residents. It's not that we're trying to handle anything, but they've hired us as the council and the people negotiating this to take care of this and then report back to them in a transparent way what we did and why we did it. It was the last piece of open property in the city. We felt it was important to protect, to keep some other entity coming in and being disruptive, and so we think we operated absolutely in best faith, and we also plan to be fully transparent as we go through the evolution of what we do next.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reed, I appreciate that. So I'm gonna pivot real quick. Obviously, you know, with me just graduating from 12th grade yesterday, kind of learned that you can only tax 3,000, joke everybody. Taxes coming from three different sources: income tax, consumption tax, property tax. With the mechanisms that you have available here in the city and talking about the importance of being able to manage a fixed amount of funds within the coffers. With regards to revenue, in talking, and as you just shared about the project across the street, what do you feel are alternative means to be able to generate revenue for the city, Mr. Reed?
Well, that's the biggest problem we have. I mean, we are a landlocked community. We have three businesses. There are three country clubs. We do not have the ability to generate income off of a shopping center or a office building or something like that. So we have to be very careful and deliberate and protective of the revenue we have. And so we carefully budget every year from scratch. We build a budget where we are really analyzing where we're at and trying to make sure that we leave the right kind of revenue available for the what ifs, the flood down Brush Creek, any number of things that can happen. We have in our charter a mandate to have 30 to 50% of our annual budget set aside in reserves, and so we do that. We currently have a $10.5 million budget, and we have $5.2 million in reserves. So these are careful things. I'll tell you, $5.2 million will go pretty quick if we have a flood down Brush Creek. We have some kind of disaster that's totally unforeseen, a big tornado come roaring through. $5.2 million is not a lot of money, and we are very carefully protecting that for the what-ifs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reed. Mr. Perry, same questions to you, and obviously, in kind of adding on with what Mr. Reed has said, is these budgets often serve as like an operations plan. So, you know, once again, moving forward, knowing that this is how we're going to take care of the city. What are your thoughts on this?
Sure, and again, Mr. Reed's right. We've got three businesses essentially we get income from. It's the liquor tax from the country clubs. And one thing that we need to do is ensure that we've got a voice within the state of Kansas to ensure that that doesn't go away. We are subject to a lot of things that the Kansas legislature does. And doing a overall comprehensive review of how best to maximize our voice within the state of Kansas, within the legislature, is something that we should do. I'm on state boards, been appointed by the governor to a number of different boards. I work with the legislatures, both the Senate and the House within Kansas quite a bit on a number of issues. I think we need to make sure that we have a voice when it comes to our community, how best to protect what we have. And that is making sure that Kansas does not start taking some of that sales revenue away. We also need to ensure that we are properly incomed when it comes to the Amazon deliveries. We get a ton of money from that. And then finally, you're talking about the reserves that we have. We are essentially now in charge of a asset that is deteriorating over across the street. And what that looks like from a financial standpoint, whether it's affecting the tax revenue bonds that we have available to those, or basically having the liability over anything that goes wrong in the church until 2024, is something that we need to be carefully taking a look at when it comes to our budget.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perry. So,
I would like to rebut that. I just think it's important to know that we have, well, never mind, I don't want to rebut it.
okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Perry. So, we've talked about that there are constraints from enhancing revenue. We also know that there's some spending pressures that are also being exhibited, and as you both have echoed, one good emergency could deplete the coffers. So it's very important to understand how we balance and manage funds. So the next question, you kind of talked about stormwater, so I want to pivot to infrastructure. Managing infrastructure in a municipal area is very tough. So with regards to the future state, knowing that infrastructure is going to age, you have limited funds to deal with, and the reserves are very important for those emergencies. Mr. Perry, the questions to you moving forward: what's the future state of Mission Hills, and how do we manage the infrastructure that you have in place?
So it is a complicated process, and what I am very surprised about is the changes to the comprehensive plan that were announced in a public hall several weeks ago, actually last Thursday, and that are available on the website. One thing you look at is the mobility plan that includes, and I roughly sketched this out as to 5 miles of new sidewalks that have been proposed for Mission Hills. What that is it turns out to be about 105,000 square feet of concrete that you're putting down within the city. 1,304 cubic yards of concrete if you're looking at a 4-foot deep, 4 feet wide, 4-inch deep, 4-inch wide ADA compliant sidewalk. And what that does is it will only increase the issues within our infrastructure. I mean, from a section of 63rd Street that they're going to put a sidewalk in, currently that's 5,280 square feet of concrete going downhill into a creek that's already stressed. And so looking at all of those different aspects, looking at how best we monitor and maintain what we have, I think is something that we need to be really careful with. And I'm not sure the comprehensive plan that the current city council has put out is looking at all those different avenues. And you know, from a tree canopy standpoint, how many trees will be lost in the input of 5 miles of sidewalks, and what will that also do to our infrastructure? I think those are things that we need to take a pretty careful look at.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perry. Mr. Weed, I'd like to share.
First of all, the comprehensive plan has not been approved and will not even be presented until next Wednesday, October the 8th. So there's been no approval of the comprehensive plan, which, by the way, is mandated by the state of Kansas. So we do this every 10 years. And we did present a first draft that was clearly communicated in the emails, notifiedjoco.com. This was a draft presentation, so none of that stuff's been presented. Second of all, I don't think there's a city in northeast Johnson County that does a better job of monitoring down to the cubic foot the amount of impervious surface that we require our people to protect. We are ferocious about protecting that, so I don't think that the equation that has to do with walkability and sidewalks is appropriate here. I just think that we have offered the citizens an opportunity to look at additional mobility and sidewalks, and I think the draft that was presented last Thursday was a blue sky scenario, and if you look at which was not, there's been some of this has been passed around the neighborhood, and they've left the legend or the glossary of what the terms are, and a lot of these are long-standing things that have been discussed for probably 15 years back to Mayor base ours. And we look at these things every so often, and inevitably, they're voted down.
Thank you very much. So, gentlemen, I appreciate your indulgence in answering some of these questions. And so, what I'd like to do, Mr. Weed, is start with you and kind of talk about what's important to you. Moving forward, if elected, kind of what are some of the key strategical things that you feel need to be addressed within the city of Mission Hills?
So I think there's many opportunities for the city. We're in great shape, but there's probably three things that we need to look at pretty quickly. We've been working on scooters and e-bikes. It's a scourge that's affecting all of America. I think it's something that involves the city. The city has to provide a framework. The parents have to step up and get more involved in monitoring it. We've worked closely with the police. We work closely with real estate owners, First Washington down in Prairie Village, but we need to provide more in education and more structure for scooters and e-bikes. Two, I think we have to get our arms around what we're going to do with 6400. I think it's a great opportunity. I don't know what's going to come of it, but I think that's an opportunity for us. And finally, I think we have some tree issues. Two of them are, we have aging oak trees that are have Kermes scale and are reaching the end of their life. We're going to have to figure out how to remove those and then reforest our canopy. The second thing is we need a better relationship with Evergy, because every time there's a storm around here, too many of us lose power. And we need to find a better way to get Evergy to be responsive to storm management and off-season trimming of power lines so that we can have fewer downtimes when it rains.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wood. Mr. Perry, same thing to you. And what do you see, with you already being on council, you have a unique purview, but what do you see as being some of the key strategic initiatives that either currently are being enacted or things that you feel need to be tabled to be able to be moved forward?
Sure, and to be clear, I did roll off city council 2 years ago. I served 8 years on it, and I think frankly 8 years in any position is enough. And so I wouldn't just be clear when you mentioned that, but I agree completely 100% with all of the things that Andy says. And I think when it comes down to it, we agree on the public safety. We agree on the tree canopy. We agree on the fact that my power, just like his, goes out every single time the wind blows. How do we do that? Those are decisions obviously made at a city level, and those decisions are made by the city council. Mm-hmm. When it comes to being a mayor, you also need to make sure that you're bringing in new voices, new ideas, and new people to the table. And that's something that people have come to me and said, I've tried to get involved in the city. I never have. These are, I'll give you 2 quotes. One from a citizen I was talking to. The challenge isn't finding time for me to give to the city or to get involved. It's hard. What's hard is feeling comfortable enough to try. It seems like the same people have been there forever, and it's intimidating to voice your interest. It feels stagnant. Concerns and opinions are met with roadblocks and mediocre replies. Another, a little more punchier quote I heard was, "For years I've tried to get involved in the city. I spoke to city council members and the mayor. I submitted letters of interest, but I was never asked to serve in any capacity. What makes matters more frustrating is that there are people that continue to be appointed for years and even decades by the mayor and other people." And so those types of messages I'm getting from people that want to be involved, and I think there's a real opportunity here from a leadership and mayoral standpoint to get new people involved in the city, make sure their voices are heard, and continue doing what we're doing and moving forward in a transparent and traditional point of view.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perry. So we're about to wrap up, folks. That concludes the end of our questions. And once again, I'd like to applaud the fact that you both are very well ingrained in looking after and being good stewards of the responsibilities and relationships that you've created within the city. So thank you very much, first and foremost, for that as you continue to move forward in your service to the city. At this time right now, since we had heard your opening statements first, Mr. Weed will go ahead and begin and hear your closing statements as to why you feel you're deserving of the role of mayor of Mission Hills, sir.
Well, thank you very much. I've enjoyed being here today. Thank you very much. I think that I have a track record that is well established, that goes back quite a ways. I realize that Braden has characterized people like me as maybe stale, and I understand that, but I can tell you that I feel very proud of the fact that I believe I've been as responsible as anybody of bringing along new people, new talent. There are more people that are on different committees because I've encouraged them. I've also had a lot of people tell me, no thanks. So I've gotten a lot of no's, but I keep after it because I agree with Braden. We need to continually regreen the pool of people involved. I think that I have the experience across the board in a lot of different areas. I think I have the trust of many people in this city. I think I'm the right candidate at the right time. I'm currently involved in 4 or 5 major projects that are live and going. The transition from the previous mayor to me will be more seamless. I just think I'm in a great position to offer it, and I look forward to the opportunity. I also want to take this closing minute to say, please vote. Vote here on November the 4th, right here in this building. And if you want to vote early, you can vote at 6000 Lamar, the Johnson County offices, from October 25th to November 1st. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Weed. You just stole my role. I'm gonna have you come back. I don't even make that announcement anymore. But thank you very much, and once again, thank you for electing to continue your service with the city.
Thank you.
This time, we will now hear the closing remarks from Mr. Perry.
Exactly, and yes, please vote on for whomever you feel like you should vote for. And certainly appreciate, obviously, everything the city council and the mayor's does within the city. I think it's been a great. I've served, like Mr. Reed has, on all of the different committees, frankly, from as either a liaison or serving on them as a member or chair. The one thing I think that we need to remember is that this is an important time for Mission Hills. We have a new asset, a asset that we don't have much direction for at this point. We have a new comprehensive plan that I've heard from people is somewhat concerning on several different levels. We have a number of things going on that I think we need strong leadership, and we need transparent leadership, and we need to be able to go out and tell our citizens what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're doing it, and ideally before it happens. And so, again, it's been a pretty quick time here, and I appreciate the questions. And if you have additional information, please feel free to reach me anytime at bradenformayor@gmail.com. My Instagram is bradenformayor. Also, I've got a website. I use Good Party because I am self-funding my candidacy. I don't take donations. I don't think it's appropriate to for a volunteer position within the city of Mission Hills. And that Good Party website is goodparty.org, candidates.goodparty.org /Braden-Perry. So thank you for having us, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perry. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give these candidates a round of applause.